everyone, it's Lori, and what you're seeing now is the New Hall Audubon Nature Preserve located on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. It's a beautiful place that you can walk. Really, it is set up for birds, and there's a pond in the center. And so I visited this winter in December, and it was after a day of rain. And so when I visited the park, of course, I was really looking for birds, wildlife, just not sure what I would find. But as we walked through, it was actually very quiet. There was no activity in the pond, and there wasn't much activity of birds at all, at least not birds that we could see. They were in this thick forest area. More of the little birds. So as I walked around, instead of getting discouraged and saying, hey, let's just go back to the beach, I noticed the beautiful water drops. And so you just saw some of those drops that I then began to shoot. As I was walking, hearing the birds, but not really being able to see them to capture, I just started noticing the beautiful water drops that were still hanging on even in the middle of the day after the rains had passed. So I started looking in different areas as I walked and different plant structures that were really holding on to the water drops. Now there's a lot of natural pine trees in this area, and those of course are just really beautiful when you're looking for water. So there's several of these, this kind of green shrubby plant. Now my phone camera did not focus on this water drop, but you'll see my images in just a minute that I took this day. But there were just some really large drops that were holding on. And so I wanted to take this video and then show you the images because I think it's a great example of how even in the season of winter, we can find something really beautiful and peaceful to create and express ourselves. So this is another view of kind of that nature park. It's a very natural area with a lot of the natural habitat of the island. Now these are the pine tree branches, and I had so much fun trying to capture these water drops. Now you'll notice that I'm going to turn around in just a minute because while the sun wasn't super bright, it still was out. And what I wanted to do was shoot more into the light so that the water drops really stand out. So when you're shooting something like this, you also want to think about not only your composition, but also your light source. So shooting from different angles is going to give you a different perspective and a different view, especially if you're shooting water drops. So next time it's kind of a dreary winter day, still get out with your camera and explore. So now we'll take a look at how I edited a few of these images. So to get started, I'm here in Lightroom today, and I thought I'd first show you some of the images that I was able to capture, capturing the rain as well as some actual the water drops. So these images were shot, I was under a covered patio and it started to rain again. And I just noticed all the gorgeous water drops outside. So I just started shooting with my 70 to 300 lens and had it at a low f-stop. So this was allowing me to be able to get the raindrops, the rain coming down in these streaks, as well as focus on the water drops. So I thought it turned out really pretty and interesting, something a little different. So we're going to work on editing a couple of these today. Now in the video, you saw me shooting at a nature park. And so these are some of the images that I was able to capture with the grasses, and I like these with the two different pretty sharp focus. I can enhance these to bring out more detail. Again, I was shooting handheld and was really trying to get the beautiful light and the background. So I thought, liked these. And I thought this one was a really nice singular shot with all of this beautiful negative space. And this is one that I want to also blur this area here. So as I look at the image, I want to isolate this a little bit more. So we may work on that one together. And this is one of the larger scenes. I just loved all the water drops, the movement of the grasses. And this was one where I was able to isolate and just really bring down this singular drop. It looks like, yeah, I got some of the detail in the water drop. And so this is one where I can enhance this drop, get rid of some of the noise in the image, and I think it will be really stunning. I also think it would be really nice in black and white. So this was one where I loved this curve of the water drop, and it looked like the leaf was just holding it really tight. I thought this was really pretty, and I loved that I was able to get the kind of the flow of these leaves and not cut this top one off, and then it kind of leads your eye down. And another vision or version of a similar, this is a similar leaf, and I like this one okay, but now that I'm giving it a second shot, I do think that this one is a lot stronger. And then I did take some water reflections when I was there. So these were the trees that were reflecting in the water. And I just thought, I love these. I just think it looks like, you know, a painting, something really artistic and fun. And these don't really need a lot of editing. And it's just something that I enjoy shooting and doing. So let's jump in and edit a couple of these where I can show you how I'm going to enhance for some of the detail. Now, I think as I look through these, probably with the water drops, I really like this one, I think the best with the rain coming down. And I want to impact a certain mood with this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually come over, and the histogram looks pretty good. I am going to go ahead and bring down the highlights just a little bit because they seem maybe just a little bright. But I want to go ahead and come down to my tone curve. Now, you may wonder why, but I want to add a little mood to this. And so pulling down the mid-tones is going to give me that mood almost instantly. So this is a trick that I love to do, thinking about the middle of your image. So not your blacks or your darks, not your highlights or your whites, but the middle tones. So you could also brighten an image using that. But in this case, I want to give this a little bit more mood since it was, a rainy day. Now, the next thing I really want to do with this image is I feel like this is a little distracting. I'm not sure if the remove tool will get rid of it, but I am going to try. So we may have to take it into Photoshop. I really want this image to be nice, kind of simple, focused on this main area. So I am going to see if it will remove that for us. And it did okay. So I'm going to go over it a second time, which often happens. Let's see what it does a second time. And sometimes, oh, that did pretty good. I may go over it just one more time right here and see how it blends. Yeah, that's better. I'm just going to kind of get rid of that line and maybe just come in right there. Now I could clone some more of those water drop lines, but I feel like we've got some right there. Yeah, I don't like that brightness. So I just kind of keep going over it until I get what I want. That works fine for me. I'm not looking for perfection here. I think that's going to work. Now, the next thing I want to do is go back to the basics, and I do want to come down and add a vignette. So I'm going to add a vignette just to, again, darken the outside and add that mood on the inside area. And the water drops, I don't think they look blown out. Let's check our highlights. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. So we can come up to our whites, yeah, and just bring those down just a touch to give it that look. And I think this is all I'm going to do to this image. I really don't want to do anything else. I want to just keep it really clean, simple. I just think it tells the story of a rainy kind of autumn winter day. All right, so let's go over to the water drops that I shot amongst the pine trees. And this is one that I really loved, this singular branch with all this detail. We can see a little cleanup needs to happen over here. I'm going to start actually by cropping the image. So I'm actually going to come in and probably put this, yeah, almost on the center. So I'm going to kind of make it, it's almost a square. I think this line is going to look better maybe right there in the center of the image. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring down the highlights. That's going to adjust and bring down the whites just a little bit. And I'm going to also do that trick with the midtones, maybe just a little. And now I want to come down to my color, and I think I want to just see what I can do with the green tones. There's a little bit of orange that I want to minimize. And I'm going to keep the yellow, trying to kind of play with the green. Let's switch to our luminance, and I'm going to see what happens if I brighten the green just a little bit. You can see what it does in the background. I like that. All right, so to enhance this water drop, there's a couple things that we can do. We can go in and do a mask. I'm going to use objects, and I'm just going to come in and see if it will get the actual drop. And it did a great job. Now I'm going to come down and use the clarity. I'm just going to increase that clarity a little bit. And if we look at, didn't mean to do that. Added that clarity. We can see that's before and that's after. So definitely can see a difference there. So I like that. Now when you add clarity, it can make things a little dark. So I'm going to open up those blacks and maybe just give it a little tiny bit of exposure. So again, this is before and this is after. And now I'm just going to scroll back out, and let's go back to our basic panel, and I think that did the trick. Now, if you don't want that white as bright, you could also pull that down in your tone curve, or we could bring it up, but I like it. Now, if you wanted to bring out the detail even more, you could take it into a program like Topaz AI and really bring out that detail, but I'm not wanting it to be super sharp. I'm really just wanting this gorgeous kind of story of these pine leaves. We could also add a vignette. I've kind of been into vignettes lately. I think that just gives it more of that finished painted look. All right, let's come over and edit this image, which I just loved this water drop kind of hugging things. So first thing we need to do is we look at our histogram. Those highlights are a little bit blown on our water drop, and it's actually the whites. So I'm just going to bring those down a little bit. And again, because this is a brighter scene, so you could kind of decide what you want to do with it. I still like that kind of moody look for this. So I'm going to bring that down, and I'm going to check out my crop. So with the crop tool, we can kind of see where the lines are. And I really would love to get this drop more on the rule of thirds. And so I'm going to bring this over just a little bit to see what it does. I think that's going to be more the rule of thirds, and I think I like that. I love this gorgeous bokeh, but I do think the image is a little bit stronger if we just move it over just a little bit, maybe on this side, and then we could come just a notch there. Yeah, maybe to right there, and just ease that in a little bit more. Yeah, I think that is a little bit better with the crop. And you could decide if you wanted to, how bright you want the image, or if you want it to have that kind of moodier look. So I want to keep this series kind of similar. I'm going to add just a little bit vignette. And, with the whites, we could pop those just a little bit, see what a difference that makes. So that's an option to give it that kind of moody look. We could also actually make it pretty bright, and I also like it that way. Now I'm going to come down to my greens, and I want to go to the saturation, and I just want to make those a little bit darker. And another thing we can do is go up to our mask, and we can do a color range mask, grab this green color, and we can decide how much of it we want to do. And I actually want to subtract it from that bottom area. So I'm going to do subtract, and I'm going to go ahead and just use the brush. Let's enlarge the brush, and I'm just going to take it off. I don't want to impact the bottom area. I just want to impact these leaves. And I don't want to impact it anywhere around here. All All right, and so now what I'm gonna do is go to, with the leaves, I'm gonna go to saturation. Just gonna really saturate those. You could also shift the hue. So if you wanted maybe just a little bit more green, you could do that. We could also work on any clarity if we want to add a little bit or add texture. I prefer to add texture. I think that's going to give us what we want. And then we could also darken. We want to darken those leaves just a little bit. Okay, so again, that was before and after, just some really subtle changes. So I'm going to get out of the masking, and now we could look at our water drop. So let's go ahead and add a mask here. I'm going to do the objects again. I like the square object. Come in and highlight that. And let's just add a little pop of exposure without blowing it out. And we could try some dehaze here. Again, that's going to darken it, so I don't want to do that. Let's try some clarity. And I think clarity did the trick. And we could pop the whites. We don't want to blow them out. So instead of that, let's just add a little bit of exposure. There we go. And again, we can come back to our basic panel and see before and after. Now this leaf is a little bright. I just noticed it. So one thing we could do is we can come in and add a mask with a brush and just brush on in this area and just bring down the highlights a little bit so it's not as bright, maybe the whites. And you could even try a little bit of exposure. Just kind of darken that general area. Maybe up in here just a little bit. Just kind of pop that around. Let's look at it before. Oh, see how much brighter that was? Really drew your eye to that leaf. So that's something as you're editing, take time to just continue to kind of circle around your image. A lot of times we're really focused on one area of the image and we don't see. Now these spots could be an area you want to clean up. It's really kind of up to you. I don't like anything that distracts from kind of the main story of my image. So sometimes I will, and then sometimes it really tells the story. And so I don't want to remove those blemishes. But I think in this case, I do like that a little bit better. I'm not going to remove all of them, but maybe just right there at the eyesight area. You could decide if you wanted them all gone. I'm just going to clean that up just a little bit, make it a little darker. Okay, make sure it doesn't have a line there. Just kind of have to work with that remove tool. But so again, there's our before, there's our after. Now, if you wanted more detail in your water drop, again, you could take it into another program. You could also do the enhance feature here in Lightroom. And I can also come down and do some noise reduction. So I could do the denoise. I could also just do some manual, and I find the manual works really well because if we go in close, if I take that back, you'll see just a little bit of noise up in here. So let's go ahead and just raise that up, and especially in the color. Yeah, it's a lot smoother. So I think that denoise, or I could have used the full denoise option, is a nice option to take care of that. So I think that's all I'm going to edit today. I hope you enjoyed just this kind of basic edit of these, just going out in nature. Sometimes things surprise you when you're on a photo walk, and just taking advantage of what's out there. Not being discouraged when you go out to shoot something and your plans change, making the most of it, and then finding a way to beautifully express the shots that you took through some really quick, simple editing. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you watching my videos. Please click like, subscribe, and leave me some comments. Have a great day.